Hey guys, it's Bruce. I'm a noob, and welcome back. And holy cow, it's been a while. I left you guys hanging a little bit. It's been a couple of months since I posted part one of my build of Tamiya's Panzer IV-H early. So you know what? Enough waiting. Time to get the build finished, and we'll show you what things look like at the end. So turret went together pretty well in this kit. Actually, it is a two-part turret, so you'll have to fill a few seams. And you probably noticed there when I was putting the gun together that the recuperator is actually two parts as well. So I mentioned earlier I had bought the Edward PE kit for this tank, and you know, given I haven't built a lot of tanks since I got back in the hobby, that might have been a little ambitious. The PE did challenge me certainly, and you can see I was cutting some bits off the fenders there because we'll be replacing those with some PE. We got the air intakes on and the rear fenders with a bit of Tamiya extra thin, no problem. The upper superstructure went together quite well, like the turret. Just a little bit of filling here and there. You can see there's a couple of little receiver holes that we would have used if we'd used the kit fenders, and of course we don't need those now. And I've been using Tamiya putty thinned with extra thin for all of the really small seam lines, and you can see there we got the turret all sanded up and ready to go. And now the fun part with the Edward PE set, of course, these are the tool clamps, and there's a lot of tools on a Panzer IV. And all of them, of course, in a Tamiya kit have molded-on clamps that have to be removed, and little tiny PE clamps like that one that have to be built. Now, the downside with the Edward PE clamps, unlike some newer sets that are out there, they don't work. So you saw I just kind of folded that little handle around, and you can't open and close them. It basically it gets put together and stays open or stays closed depending on how you decide you want to model it. Now we're doing the jack holder here. And there are just so many tools on this thing. You can see a bit of the instructions in the upper corner, and pretty much everything: the inertial starter crank, the shovel, the axe, the jack block, the fire extinguisher, the wire cutters. All of that stuff has to have the molded-on clamps very carefully shaved off. You can see here I'm working on the shovel, and these parts are of course very delicate, and I did wind up snapping the long pry bar. The Edward PE kit comes with a replacement shovel blade. Looks much more natural, much more to scale with a nice thin blade like that. And finally the axe, we're going to again sand off and cut off all of the clips and retaining hardware and replace those with PE. So here we go. We've got one of the PE clamps already on the hull. We're going to test fit that and just make sure we know where we're going to put the second one using a bit of Gorilla gel super glue to hold on the PE bits, and finally we can slide the whole thing in place and pivot down the handle. So when I said those PE clamps don't work, they do pivot, but they don't really lock the way a working one does. The Bosch headlight also has some nice PE on it. That was probably the easiest bit. A bit of a quick walk around. You can see there the jack block has some nice PE. There's the antenna cradle. You can see, yep, jack's on backwards. I've got the crank handle on the outside of the tank. Let's get some Zimmerit going. So we're using Elmer's drywall putty. Goes on pink, dries white, and the tank I'm modeling actually has some pretty worn Zimmerit on the turret, so we do scrape some of that off. You can also see on the right side there where the antenna cradle would be, it's got some spare tracks hung in 2 rows, so we drill out the teeth and put in some wire to replicate those little holders for the tracks. Now let's look at the shurzen. Yeah, those are junk. Can't use those. They're molded in one piece, and they're molded in one piece with overlap. So even if I wanted to cut them apart, I'm going to have a big bump where the preceding piece overlaps the one behind it. So what I'm going to do instead, I'm going to cut it apart, and I'm going to use those shurzen plates from the kit as templates and just use some nice thin sheet styrene. And then I'm going to cut some sheet styrene strips, say that 3 times fast, and make some little brackets for it. So Tamiya primer to give us that nice Rotbrun primer color, and some hairspray, because of course we are going to do a bit of hairspray chipping on this. Really only my second time trying hairspray chipping, so I think I'm still putting it on a bit thick, but not too bad. And then some Tamiya dark yellow combined with a bit of brown, and we'll do our appreciating, well, not appreciating, I guess we'll do our, so I won't call it modulation, but using darker colors on the underside and along the suspension. So with a bit of brown in there, it'll make the Dunkelgelb, the dark yellow, look a little darker. Same thing on the underside of the turret and the underside of the gun. So just creating some artificial shadows, straight dark yellow on the rest of the tank, and then on the turret as well, you can see there before we do some chipping. Now, I didn't record the rest of it. This is the first time I've used an airbrush to try a camo pattern, and I did try to mimic a couple of photos that I found of Panzer IVs. I think it came out okay. I think I went a bit heavy on the chipping with the hairspray there. But overall, pretty happy with it, and my first camo pattern ever, and my first German tank since getting back into the hobby. So let me know what you think in the comments, guys. This wound up going into a market garden diorama. Of course, this is mimicking a tank from the Battle of Arnhem during Market Garden, and has some Brit para figures in there and everything. So yeah, that's it. Thanks for watching ever so much, guys. Sorry it was so long to get back to you. There's the actual tank after the battle. Please consider clicking like and clicking subscribe. I'm Bruce, I'm a noob, and hope to talk to you soon. Bye.